It's great to be here and talking to you guys. It's really amazing to see Leeds absolutely leading the way on this innovation, particularly in surgery. So, yeah, it's really, really brilliant to talk to you today. My name's Grant Nolan. I'm a plastic surgeon by trade, and I've now moved into a startup called MyOpNotes. I'd like to tell you a bit about today. So, my question to you: so, what is the greatest barrier to progress in surgery? Have a think about that. What do you think it is? Okay, so MyOpNotes, what are we doing? So let's talk about the problem. Operation notes. Here's one from my old trust. Not that old, not that long ago. If you just look in the top corner here, you can see we didn't actually need to redact the patient information because the sticker got missed off. So what are the issues? We've touched on the first one. 90% of documents have some form of omission or inaccuracy. That's not just in the patient demographics, that goes the whole way through the document. You've got the unstandardized nature, it makes it very easy to forget details. You know, what one surgeon writes is completely different to what another surgeon writes. It's pretty repetitive for the surgeons in the room, you probably agree, you know, writing the same thing most of the time. If you do have a copy-paste function, then you kind of have that risk of carrying across legacy information. And the last thing is, with paper like this, you've got problems with illegibility and delays, where if you lose that sheet of paper, or the patient presents early to clinic, for example, with a complication, and it hasn't been scanned, you're in the position where you literally don't know what the patient's had done to them. At this point, people often say, okay, fine, Grant, but actually we have electronics, so you know this doesn't really apply to us. Actually, the only one that digital solves at the moment is the illegibility and paper delays. All the rest of the problems still persist, so it's an incomplete solution. This is me. Hello, I'm a clinical entrepreneur as well. So what are the impacts of these problems? So the first one is actually, we know it's pretty hard to deliver great care. It's hard enough at the moment, and this just makes it even harder. It's pretty inefficient. You know, if there's missing details on there, nurses, physios, doctors have a lack of information. They can't get on with their job. You get complaints, datexes, which weighs us all down, potentially litigation as well. All that juicy data on the OpNote is in an unusable format. And I'll come on to the bottom one about clinical coding in a minute as well, but there's a problem with clinical coding. So if we think about those problems, so we said it's bad on paper, you can't read it. Well, the pretty obvious solution there is you just go digital. You've got omissions and inaccuracies, lack of standardization, and a lack of data. Well, actually, surgeons have a solution for this already. It's templates, and we want structured data. And the last one is it's pretty slow and repetitive to write an OpNote. We just put in we make something fully integrated and time-saving technology. So that was our brief, and that's exactly what we've made. So this is MyOpNotes. It's a digital platform which is fully integrated. It uses a library of standardized smart templates, and then it has error-reducing technology and time-saving technology in there. And the key difference here is that we capture high-accuracy, standardized, structured data from surgeons, which means that it's faster for you, it's better for patients, and of course, you've got all the data there for research and audit. This is what it looks like. I've kind of got some screen grabs here as well. So you go through, you choose your template. It's very easy to kind of work through. You can draw a diagram, add a photo, add a video. You get really high accuracy, structured data. Of course, all of that data is fully exportable, you know, for whatever you want to do that with, whether it's registries, you know, your e-logbook, everything like that. The data is fully accessible and available. So this is kind of what we can really do. So this is what we had before, this dodgy OpNote where the sticker's missing. This is what we can change it into. It looks kind of similar. There's a few gray lines across it, but actually this is tabulated data. And of course, when you tabulate it, you can export it all with a click of a button. People often say at this point, well, okay, what about AI? AI is going to solve all our problems. You will never get, you know, you think about the main problem, omissions and inaccuracies. So AI is never going to be able to go from here to here. It might be able to understand, you know, lap chole and abbreviation, even LC. But if you didn't write it, it can't read it. So that's the major difference. We have to change how we capture the data in the first place if we want to do interesting stuff with it. If you think about the innovation which has saved the most lives in surgery, it's not medical devices, it's not AI, it's a WHO checklist, it's a template. And we're taking the same approach here to OpNotes. What's the evidence? We love to ask this to surgeons. It's 4 systematic reviews, so it's pretty compelling. Makes it faster, more complete, more accurate for surgeons, for patients, for the hospital. Coming on to that last kind of one here, so people often say, right, okay, fine, I'm kind of happy enough to use that, but what's in it for the hospital? And this is the real main point here. This is the business case. So all of that data, which is around inaccurate clinical coding. So all of that data, so clinical coding, for those of you who don't know, is basically how NHS trusts get paid. So after the patient's discharged, the notes are reviewed by someone non-clinical and essentially an administrator who assigns bits of code based on what you've written as a surgeon. And then the hospital gets paid when those are combined with comorbidities. Now, we know that due to problems with this process, these codes can be up to 67% inaccurate. We're basically, like, all decisions at a high level are made on these codes, and we're getting them wrong a significant amount of time. And the root cause and how much that's costing, well, it's, you know, £100 to £200 per patient on average, including the time it takes to code it. You know, nearly up to $2.5 billion across the NHS, and 11 to 17 million per NHS trust. So huge amounts of money being left on the table at a time when the NHS is completely cash-strapped. And what's kind of driving that? Well, we've already talked about it. It's the notes. It's the poor quality notes. So with MyOpNotes, not only do, after the patient's discharge, we change the way the documentation is done. It means we get more accurate and more complete codes, and we've actually worked out a way to automatically do this with further cost savings. And then, of course, the NHS gets fully paid, allowing them to deliver the appropriate care to their population. This is the team that's developing it: surgeons, developers, people with commercial and regulation experience, and, of course, clinical coders. And we're really building the solution together with surgeons, with clinical coders, with patients to make sure that it really delivers value to all those stakeholders. In terms of where we've been so far, so we've won a significant grant. It hasn't been announced yet, so I can't say any more. We're part of the Clinical Entrepreneur Programme and the Topper Fellowship. We've got 3 pilot sites secured. And if it all goes well, on Tuesday, we should have our DTAC, so we'll be having a party then, which is our regulatory compliance. In terms of my ask to you, so we're actively looking for hospitals to further pilot this in. We want 5 pilot sites is our aim. And the benefits are it's faster for surgeons, it improves patient outcomes by having that complete data, and of course you get the improvements in clinical coding. We've got 3 so far, so I'm really looking for 2 more trusts. So I'd love to speak to you if you're interested in potentially piloting this technology. How we do it, we explore those coding issues. We make sure that you're happy as a surgeon, your department's happy. We then pilot it, and then if that all goes well, then we go to a widespread rollout. It's fully integrated, of course. It includes training all the surgeons, and it has clear success criteria. So, you know, we make sure that we're doing something valuable before we move on to commercial contracts. So in terms of that question, what's the greatest barrier to progress in surgery? I personally think it's data, lack of data. And until we change how that data is captured and completely revolutionize that process, we're never going to get there. So I think it's really going to be the thing which is going to take us in the future. Think about AI, it relies on good data, and that's what we don't have at the moment. Thank you very much. Some of these great guys that we work with, the Propel team, the Health Innovation guys, the Pop-Up and the Nexus, we're really glad to be working with them all. They've all been fantastic. Yeah, thank you very much. I'd love to speak to you more about this. Come and grab me, grab us on LinkedIn, and we'll have a chat about it. Thank you very much.